you know what? Screw it. We're just gonna go because I it's one of those things where I change a bunch of things. I rearrange my office. I clean, and all of a sudden everything's just gonna throw off the whack. So we're just gonna start the show. So welcome to another episode of the Tiger Minor League Report podcast here at TigersMLReport.com. I am Rahil Castillo. Alongside me is Chris Brown and Brandon Day. The Tigers right now are playing the White Sox. It's 1-1. I don't know why against the White Sox, against a team that Tigers look like they've had their opportunities and have not been able to cash in on them a little bit against Tyler Alexander, who's pitching in kind of a bullpen start. Coming up today, Emily Waldon will be joining us, figure out some of the technical issues, and so she'll be joining us here in about 20 minutes to talk about their trip to Erie and the Tigers beating the Angels for the first time in a series since 2010. 2010.
Yeah.
People were confused by my tweet because they're saying, well, didn't they beat them on the road? Yes, they have. But for a series win, the Tigers have not beaten the the Angels in 15 years.
Season series, right? Like the overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
We can all remember some very bad West Coast trips, so that's for sure.
Yeah, especially when they have Oakland, I think, coming up, 2 weeks? I think they have Oakland. Yeah, it's right about there.
Sacramento or whatever.
Yeah, Sacramento. Oh, yeah, sorry. Whatever. The Northern California, wherever they're. Sacramento is Northern California, right? That's the capital of.
Should just be the NorCal Athletics, yeah.
Yeah, NorCal, but instead they're the A's because they don't want to put any kind of abbreviation or anything to do with it. So, but yeah, so the Tigers are starting off the series in Chicago before they go take on a 40-game series with the Twins. And some interesting numbers that came out earlier today that was tweeted out from the Tigers PR department, or via Tigers notes. I had to put it out there because I was just blown away by this. I don't know if you guys saw this run differential.
Yep.
No, there was a tweet that I put out earlier that during the same stretch between the Tigers, let's see here, let's what I have it here. The Tigers have the second best record in the AL on the strength of a plus 777 overall run differential, trailing Boston and the Yankees for the best mark in the American League. The Tigers have a plus 96-1 over Cleveland, who has minus 19. But both Cleveland and Detroit are 30-30 since June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, Cleveland always, it's a little bit different now because they traded some people away and they lost a couple of people to gambling. But they've always had a strong bullpen. And when you have a really strong bullpen, you can win those one-run games and then lose, 8-run games. And so your run differential isn't great. But I don't know, the Tigers have, their pitching in general has not been great since June 1st or July 1st. So it is kind of funny, though, that they still have a nice run differential. But it's annoying. It's Cleveland. They always pull this stuff. Weird.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Antonelli, more than anybody else, seems to be like the guy that Harris kind of wants to be. You know what I mean? Like, he's been doing this a long, long time, like dealing people, not having that much payroll to work with, and they just seem to play really, really good ball every year. They find ways to make platoons work, the way like the Brewers and the Rays do, and they're just always more than a pest. It's been a while, since they, you think about how long it's been since Lindor has been gone, since Ryan Kluber, where they really did have a whole bunch of pretty star caliber talent, and they've continued to kind of do this anyway. It's pretty impressive by them. No argument. Didn't miss a step when they came to an agreement with Francona that he would leave. Plug Stephen Vogt in there, and boom, still rolling. So it's pretty impressive. You can't really argue with it.
Yeah, it's annoying. They have a bottom 10 offense in baseball, bottom 5 by WRC plus.
They kind of can't hit. It's really not a good offense. But meanwhile, I'm watching Chris Paddock here, like I'm watching someone defuse a bomb or something every pitch.
Yeah, I mean, you walk Michael Taunton, and just come on. I mean, this is ridiculous.
No, I mean, he's in the sixth inning for him. I think you're pushing it.
Yeah.
It is 70 pitches or something like that. He's pitched fine so far, but I think going much longer than this, and you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, especially. I mean, Colton Montgomery was gonna. It was just a matter of they were putting up some stats of what Colton Montgomery's done.
Yeah, I was just looking because he hit his 10th home run. I was like, how? That's got to be one of the fastest in White Sox history, and it is. I was just looking.
Yeah.
The first 32 career games for a White Sox hitter, he's tied Zeke Bonura, for the second most home runs with 10. Number one all time for the White Sox through the first 32 games, Jose Abreu with 12 home runs.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that makes sense. Although he was probably like
Yeah, he was
25.
27 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
26.
Maglio had 6. Tim Anderson had 5, and then of course the great Smead Jolly had 4.
Oh,
Smead Joey.
Mead. It's
Smead
a great name.
Jolly.
We were talking about Todd the Painter earlier as a nickname, just because people always like complain and wish that there was like the old timey names, and when we had great nicknames for everybody, and everybody was like Turkey Stearns or
Yeah.
had something like that. But then they think Todd the Painter is lame, and it's like that's about as good as it's going to get now, guys.
Yeah. There's nothing like there. You can't think of anything. I was trying to think of like somebody like name like Buffalo Jones or Tuesday or like somebody even like a name like that or something like that. But the Tigers draft class this year has some names like what was
Yeah.
it what was that kid that was drafted in the 17th, 18th round?
Joey Wimpleberg,
Yeah, Wimpleberg,
Yeah.
the Wimp. I mean, like
Meridian LeFleur.
yeah,
Um,
Meridian Fu sounds like a cartoon character. It really does.
Yeah. That's a great name.
That is
it's
a
an
great name.
amazing name.
Yeah, but well, like I said, the one of the things about this weekend too was I felt like even especially on some no lead felt safe at all,
Yeah.
and it was really Sunday felt a little better about it, but it was weird to see. But it was almost like Hinch was telling Harris, "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going
Yeah.
to put Montero out there back to back days, and this is the crap you're going to get."
Yeah. Yeah, felt a little bit like that. Although I will say, in Montero's defense, like man, there
He
was
got
some
squeezed. He did
bad,
get
there was
squeezed.
some bad home plate umpiring, like
Yeah.
Jesus. But yeah, I mean, you just can't expect that. You just can't expect much out of a guy like Montero or a guy like Paddock. Like they go out there, they usually survive without giving up more than a run an inning, and that's kind of all you're hoping for. Like get them through with minimal damage. So yeah, I don't know if he was sending a message or not, or if it was just, well, this is garbage time. We were up 7-0 at one point. You got to use them. You got to use them somewhere. You don't want to use your good relievers there. So I guess it all worked out. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Montero's like one of those dudes who just always seems to be like okay, and you can always tell yourself a story about like, I think we could fix this, or like the new splitter is going to work. But he just doesn't make enough quality pitches when he needs to, and it's just kind of always been that way for him. He's always had a pretty good slider and a pretty good fastball, or at least enough to get by if his command was better. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's going to last very long. I am actually watching this game thinking about like pitching chaos time, because I think pitching chaos is probably going to have to make a return here for the Tigers to like really do anything. We're waiting for Sawyer to get done with his rehab, but he's about close. You've got Cater. At a certain point, you're probably going to have to put the two of them along with Melton in the bullpen, and that kind of frees you up with bridge guys from starters to the late innings. And then maybe you can use Holton or Herter to open a game, somewhere along the way where it's optimal. It doesn't have to go as crazy as it did last year. They do have starting pitching, but they're probably going to have to get a little more creative than we're seeing right now for sure.
Yeah, and you see with the game today where even, you don't necessarily even have to have great pitchers. It's just by pulling this, and changing your starter 5-6 batters into the game, it just puts the other team on the defensive from the jump. I mean, that's what they learned last year. And the White Sox don't have a clown on the bench anymore, so they seem to have some idea of what they're doing. And there you go. You got one run through 6 innings. That was kind of what the Tigers kept doing last year. So yeah, it wouldn't necessarily shock me if we see that again. You got Urquidy. He's only working 1 inning at a time down in Lakeland, so it looks like they're just going to, at least for this year, he's going to be a reliever. But it wouldn't shock me if he's coming up relatively soon. I'm sure they'll move him from Lakeland to Toledo or whatever. But yeah, they got some options soon.
Yeah.
You figure like get him to Toledo and like maybe stretch him out to like 3 innings at a time, because you do have to build him up, to some degree. But yeah, it doesn't feel like he's going to get plugged into the rotation.
Yeah, and then you still have Paul Seward, who's still a couple of weeks away. We had a chance to talk to him on Saturday. He talked to the media, and he's starting his kind of rehab process right now. So you have that, and also there's some of the arms to consider down in Toledo is R.J. Pettit. Like, look, I was talking to Jason Beck about this Saturday because MLB Pipeline put out their list, and Jason Beck is a big fan of Pettit. And I looked at his numbers, and his numbers, comparatively speaking to last year in Erie, are actually better in terms of strikeouts. He's just using his slider right now. He's only got a small sample size. I was showing Chris the other day. There is something. I think they're trying to design him a certain way to maybe possibly just. He's been only throwing 2 pitches. I mean, he only has 2 pitches really, the fastball, slider.
Yeah.
But Pettit wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility either, because right now, the reason why I think that is you can slide him in. I mean, Montero, or probably more likely, it'll probably be Stewart who will replace Montero if Montero does go off the roster or what have you. But I don't know. In a small sample size, Pettit's getting some more swing and miss stuff, and so I'm interested to see how they build him up in the next couple of weeks down in Toledo, with the ability to have him be more like, I think he's more like an 8th inning guy, not like a 6th inning or something guy. Maybe a good setup man possibility. But I don't know. I'm just surprised. I don't know if the Tigers, now he's in Toledo. Now it's almost like, okay, well, is it just a matter of time before somebody else just kind of somebody else falters off and he gets an opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, you would think so. Although, I also think, obviously Hanafy is probably going to come back first. And then, maybe if Pettit, pitches well, for the rest of the month or something, they decide to add him just in case. I think, the thing about Pettit is that you want him to be a sinker baller, and he's not. I think might be the problem. Home runs are flying out of Comerica Park like crazy. And, they might just want to see him control things a little bit better, limit contact a little bit more. I don't really know. I like, obviously I've been a Pettit guy, and I kind of thought he would be up in Toledo early this year, but, that's sort of their process, is to collect a whole bunch of dudes that they're going to work with, leave everybody kind of as is, and then the advancements start to come once they've burned through some of the options that they picked up. And they burned through pretty much all of them this year. They didn't really find anything. So, yeah, I don't know if he's going to get a shot or not, but you would think he'd have to be kind of one of the top, like, pure relief options that they've got left to try.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it the other day on our podcast. Is for me, Pettit's he's never been a guy where I looked at and said, okay, that's his pitch. Like, that's the pitch he's going to make his money. Like, I've seen at times he's had his fastball into the upper 90s, and I'm like, okay, that'll play. And at times you'll see, I thought he had a good changeup at times in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought it was better than a slider, but he's kind of throwing his slider a lot more this year, so maybe they found something there. But yeah, I don't know. Like, you can never tell. Sometimes we talked about with Dylan Smith earlier this year, right? Like, sometimes relievers find something and they move very quickly.
Yeah.
This is really Pettit's first chance at AAA after 3 years in AA, 2+ years. I don't remember.
I think it's 2+ years, yeah.
And that's not necessarily, we've said this too, but like, it's not his fault. They just have kept everybody in Erie forever.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I mean, if you're trying guys, I think you got Pettit, you got Summers, you got a number of other options too. So
the other thing about Pettit too is that he stole a lot of strikes with the slider. He wasn't necessarily getting whiffs, or at least tons of them. And maybe if more whiffs start popping up, maybe that's the sign that it's about his turn. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Emily. Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of Erie, Emily just returning from her trip down the I-90 a little bit, and so in terms of reliever, I know you were able to get Kenny Sorowitz start, but was there any other relievers that stood out to you? I mean, this was your first chance to see Richard Gwash.
Well, actually, second time, because I did see him in Akron. This was the second time to see him.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, what were your impressions of the Erie Seawolves as they took on? Wow, why am I drawing a blank all of a sudden? Who they faced? Oh, Richmond. That's right.
The Richmond Flying Squirrels.
Yeah.
A good minor league name if ever there was one. So much to unpack with this team. Obviously, you see a number of guys who came up from West Michigan. They've started to kind of get their footing a little bit. Jaden Ham, who spent last year in West Michigan, finally off the injured list. He's back with the Seawolves. A little bit rocky outing in his first outing back off the IL, but just so happy to be back and kind of getting back into his routine. As far as relievers go, I think I like Yasper Sanchez. I really like Yasper Sanchez. I think it's still a little bit of a raw profile. I think there's still some polishing that's needed, but such a dominant profile. And he thrives off of those high intensity moments. He actually told me, he said, I love those moments where, people depend on me and I can go out and perform at that level. And so I think the fact that he almost thrives off of those high pressure moments, that's the ideal scenario for a relief pitcher. Like you want him to be able to go in and handle that pressure situation. So I think if they can sort of polish some of that off with him, I think there's some definite potential there.
Yeah, it looks like he's lost a little bit of his velocity a little bit, but I think it's trying to maybe overcompensate by getting better command. But Steph Stevenson, who I know we've been chronicling his descent in West Michigan, in addition to John Peck get the call up to Erie, and that gives a real boost on stretchers. Max Anderson heads to Toledo, which I'm just still trying to figure out exactly how that's going to work with. You have essentially Hyu Lee, you have Jace Young, who they all play the same position. So the Tigers have Chris is now starting the campaign for Jace Young to left field campaign that just started on our Discord. No, talk about John. I want to go particular with John Peck, who, by the way, is on our top 40, all the way up to number 22. Has a big jump on our top 40 list. But Peck has seemingly just been the real catalyst for the West Michigan Whitecaps since the Big Three left.
Yeah.
He really has. And honestly, for anyone who's followed me for any period of time, I have been the biggest John Peck shout from the rooftops. You need to pay attention to this guy from, the start of this season. Because obviously, as we all know, players are judged on their draft slot. And if their draft slot is not a top 3, top 4, you're looking at him going, but if he was really that good, why was he picked at, which I believe Peck was number 7. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was a 7th rounder. Yeah. And the level that he is making contact is, I don't think anyone expected him to perform at the level he's performed. I had one coach who mentioned defensively. He said, if I'm ever in a situation where I need a dependable defender, I'm going to look to John Peck. So you've got him grabbing attention for his defense, and then obviously won Midwest League Player of the Week more than one time, I believe.
Yep,
or maybe I'm incorrect on that, but at least one time, could have been more than one time. But he's so unassuming, because if you talk to him, he's so soft-spoken, barely talks, but goes out and just absolutely plays himself into the ground. And he was probably my favorite surprise this season throughout the organization, because I think the other big performers, you kind of saw that coming with them, like the Max Andersons, obviously Max, Kevin. We knew what Josue was capable of after his fall league campaign, so it was just a matter of him adapting to another level of competition. But yeah, I think John Peck was probably my favorite story so far this year.
Yeah, and Stevenson too. Stevenson's been just a tour de force a little bit with more power. We obviously know the steals is his thing, but his goal, Emily, as you were talking about, it just seems like he's been working really hard to be more of a well-rounded player and not just be so one-dimensional.
Yeah, absolutely, he has. And one of the really special things, obviously, I spent a lot of time around the Whitecaps this season, like I normally do. There were so many guys on the opening day roster that had such a desire to go above and beyond to hit whatever they needed to hit to reach their potential. Isaac Pacheco is another good example. I don't know if I saw someone do as much early work as Isaac Pacheco did. And that was, if he struggled against a certain type of pitch, he was out with the hitting coach working on that pitch alone. Like, that was his focus. He's like, I'm going to master this. I'm going to get this. And then defensively, he had to work to get his rhythm back at third base after missing some time. Yeah. So him, John Peck, Andrew Jenkins. Can we talk about Andrew Jenkins for a second?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Andrew Jenkins, he's a Georgia boy. I think he's originally from Wisconsin, I believe. Someone can Google that to verify if that's correct.
Let's find out.
But he's a Georgia boy and played ball there, and he's another one like a John Peck. Nobody expected to see what they saw come out of him. He's always been a consistent contact hitter, but the way he's been hitting, had a grand slam this year, has had so many clutch opportunities for West Michigan and really stepped up. He got Midwest League Player of the Month for July, I believe. And he's just been another breath of fresh air. Another one I would say is Brett Callahan, who we've seen some really impressive contact from. Has a bit of a hack for a swing, almost like a Vladimir Guerrero style swing, where it's not as fluid and smooth as some, but his contact is on another level. Now that he's back off the injured list, he told me, he said, I'm so happy to be back here. There's such a good culture in West Michigan, and we're seeing that culture spread all over the farm system too. You can honestly go to any level in the Tigers farm system right now, and they will all talk about how positive the culture is. So that's definitely a credit to the work they've been doing.
Yeah, and there's been a big emphasis on that with the amount of pitching too that the Whitecaps will be able to kind of turn through. I mean, right now they have I think it was 73. Is it 73 wins? Is that right?
74.
74. 74
Yep.
wins.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a crazy record they put together. Yeah.
Yeah, and it also
It's so crazy.
yeah, especially because the amount of like starters and just the pitching wise too. Just what is it about? It's almost like they're all three levels have been seniors this year. A lot more bullpen, higher levels where they're kind of look like they're experimenting with the bullpen. Great experimentation of the bullpen thing, but there's Mitten who got called up from Lakeland to West Michigan. Now all of it's now to Erie. Cal Ashman, of course, now is traded to Baltimore. But is there any Preston Howery? I know you're a big fan of. Trying to think. I know Moises Rodriguez is a new arm there, but there's another arm too that you're a big fan of that goes out quietly and assuming. Last time we saw you at West Michigan, you talked about him. Now all of a sudden I'm drawing a blank.
Carlos Licorica?
Yeah, Carlos Licorica. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I know what direction you're going with that. So fun fact, Carlos was actually Micah Ashman's roommate last year and this year, which I thought was pretty cool because those two came out of nowhere, like literally came out of nowhere this year. And you want to talk about unassuming. If you can get Micah Ashman to speak 5 words, that's an accomplishment. He is incredibly quiet, incredibly reserved, such a humble guy. And I was so bummed to see him go to Baltimore because you can see how much potential is there. In all honesty, and this might be an aggressive perspective on it, I could see him being ready for Detroit's bullpen next season at the rate he's going and the numbers he's putting up. So Baltimore, please take care of him. We love him. Treat him well. But Carlos is somebody who I find really interesting purely from the fact that his stuff is not overwhelming by definition. I know a lot of times we look for the big fastballs or the really biting off-speed stuff or the pitches that you just go, gosh, like nobody's going to be able to hit that. It's almost kind of like a Jaden Ham situation where it's more finesse over velocity and you're not seeing as much of a punch on his pitches, but at the same time, there's enough sort of craftiness behind the scenes that hitters just really don't know what to do with it. Carlos went to University of Miami. He's actually a Miami native, grew up there. And if you talk to him, he's one of the driest, most hilarious people you will ever talk to. Just somebody who he'll say the funniest like one-liners, doesn't even crack a smile. So that's the kind of personality he is. I told him he's the epitome of a relief pitcher because he's just got that quirky quirky personality.
I remember in Lansing, he just kind of showed up in the press box. He was just there. Like they say, he just kind of wanders around the stadium and like he starts talking to anybody and everybody.
He does. He's very much. I heard from him the other day, and he mentioned something about, well, I was probably in my own little world when that happened. He said, but honestly, that's nothing really new because that's usually what's going on. So he's definitely someone who I believe is ready to move up to Erie. But as we were just talking about, I don't think Erie has any space left. I think they are to a boiling point when it comes to talent. And it's tough for West Michigan because you're seeing some of those biggest key players getting shifted, well deservedly, but getting shifted. And so that Erie team, my goodness, it's going to be fun to watch them do their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the work cut out for them as they will be taking on probably Binghamton. Binghamton has just been on a roll. They have like I think there are 2 or 3 pitchers in the top 5 in the Eastern League. They have just a hitting machine. That's gonna be a challenge for Erie. And what were 2 observations you took away from your first trip at Erie? And was it 4? It's been like 4 years, right?
Honestly, I was trying to think back to the last time because it was before they did the renovations, which I believe was
2019 then?
19.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I think my last time would have been 18 then.
Okay.
Or it would have been, because if they did renovations 19 to 20, I would have gone in 19. So I'm a little foggy on that timeline. So I'd say about 6 years, I think was the last time. And ballpark looks really good. The team there, Greg Coleman, Greg Gagne, Sam Lebowitz, they're a phenomenal crew over there. Something specifically, and I told them this while I was there, their graphics team, top notch work. Some of the stuff they've put out, especially after Max, Kevin, and Josue's promotion, some of those graphics, I'm like, guys, those are fire. Like, nice work. So really impressed with that. And they're very much a front office that understands the challenge of being in an area that's not necessarily organization fan heavy. They do understand they're more in Pirates country, obviously, being about, I want to say they're about 2 hours from Pittsburgh. And being in that situation, it's a bit of an uphill battle. You have to come up with creative ways to pull fans in and say, I know this isn't your club, but you could still come and have fun and you can still see some good baseball. So shout out to them just for the work they've been doing. And then I think just the ability to see these guys that I saw at the Midwest League level to start the year and just watching them continue to grow. Kevin McGonigal, for example, I talked with him for quite a while, and we were discussing the difference in off-speed pitches from the Midwest League to the Eastern League. And he told me, he said, I always felt like the Midwest League is more fastball heavy. He said, you've got a lot of guys who are trying to be dominant. They're trying to show off their velocity. And so you see a lot of fastballs. He goes, sometimes they're going at your head. Sometimes they're going over your head. He goes, sometimes you don't know. But he said the biggest thing he's noticed as far as what they're throwing him at this level, he said a lot more off-speed stuff. And Max Clark verified that too. He said the pitching is a lot more crafty because I think they realize hitters at that level are going to come ready to play. So as a pitcher, you've got to have your mix ready to go. And I think they're already seeing that this season.
Yeah, in terms of a good approach at the plate, wasting pitches. They're all three. The big three are applying that already. And shout out to Jason. Jason, who runs the graphic department in Erie, a fantastic guy. Jason's a really talented young man. Him and Lena both have been
very talented.
Yeah, and shout out to Christy too, doing the merch over there. They've done the whole entire staff. So, final question for you, Emily, as we're hitting the home stretch here with about a month left of the season. I can't believe it's already I can't believe we already say that for the minor leagues.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to now that you get back to your side of the state there with West Michigan going to the postseason? Hopefully, we have access to the facilities and everything with the playoffs and all that postseason stuff. What are you looking forward to with some of the calls from Lakeland? Because Lakeland now is giving they have some really good arms coming up from Lakeland that's gonna be beneficial down the stretch.
Yeah, there's already a couple of the call-ups I think are making a pretty quick impression. I've always been a big fan of what Jackson Strong has shown so far. Getting to see him sort of get his feet wet against Midwest League pitching has been really impressive. Lucas Ellisalt, who I had a chance to talk to about his pitches, for anybody who didn't see it, I do have it up on my Twitter, him talking through his pitch mix, including the kick change, which I'm told, thanks to the great pitching ninja, Rob Friedman, we were talking about some of the newer pitch developments, and he said the kick change is a really hot new pitch And he said it's something a lot of young pitchers are trying to put into their mix. And Lucas said him and his brother both actually throw a variation of that pitch. So
Yeah.
that's up on my video. And then I think just getting to see what some of the existing guys are able to do as far as carrying the load, because something this West Michigan team has really become known for is an ability to step up and find ways to win, even when they don't have their full arsenal, so to speak. There's still guys like the Andrew Jenkins, the Isaac Pacheco's, like all of these guys who have found ways to contribute. They don't have their full group there, but they always still seem to find a way to come through and win in those moments. So I think for that, it's a situation where time will tell. Time will tell, because they're definitely not the team that they were at the start of the year when it comes to depth of talent. But I think there's still a lot of talent there to work with, and it's going to be interesting just to see what Tony Capicelli and his staff put together once the postseason gets closer.
Yeah, losing the big boys was tough, but then losing Seth and losing Peck at the same time too is definitely a blow, because the two of them were holding it down since the top prospect guys got moved up to Erie. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who can kind of rise to the surface here and kind of try to carry them down the stretch for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, Emily, thank you so much for joining us, and we finally got this technical get down, and we got this all set. So I would appreciate it, and follow Emily on Twitter and X and Instagram, because she does a lot of stuff on Instagram as well. We want to give the people's where your respective handle would be.
My handles, yes. Twitter, Emily C as in Charlie, C Waldon, and then Instagram. This is so terrible. I forget my Instagram handle sometimes. I believe it's Emily Waldon 1, the number 1.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think so.
It's so bad. That's so bad. But yes, very active on Instagram and Twitter both. Get on, talk prospects with us. All of us love talking prospects. So shoot us your questions. We love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also can find her on justbaseball.com as well.
Yeah.
Emily, thank you. So, Crazy Clown says hello, by the way.
Hello, Crazy Clown.
Thanks so much, Emily, and we'll see you probably at West Michigan here in the next week or two.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, have a good night.
Have a good night, Emily. All right. So, awesome. Finally got the technical stuff taken care of. So, but yeah, that was some good stuff from Emily, as she finally hit everything, and thank you, Randall, for telling everybody to hit that like button on YouTube. So right now the Tigers, it is still 1-1. That's kind of embarrassing. Come on.
Hey, Colin.
Yeah, hey, Colin. It's embarrassing.
The White Sox have been a better team than the Tigers since July 1st.
That was a brutal double play just now. Torres hit into it. Nicely turned though.
He's having a tough game.
He is. He's been struggling. I mean, we've talked a lot about Javi and Riley is more than anybody, but Glaber's kind of just been kind of average for about 5 weeks now, and they really could use a couple of those guys to turn it up. Nice to see Riley swinging it better the last day or 3, fortunately, because it'll happen, but they need it. They needed it kind of bad.
Yeah. And then Carpenter having a really good series against Angels. That was good to see. And then there was Spencer Torkelson hitting 25 home runs, and that the power is there. It's just it's so inconsistent. That's the big problem. By the way, Colin mentions that's the first 3 strikeout game of the year for Glaber, and that's saying something. Like he's always taken what we say professional at bats, and it's true. But before we get into the week, I just want to mention, if you have not checked out our Tigers Top 40 update, as we're having it up, there's going to be a separate podcast coming out tomorrow on YouTube that breaks it down a little further. Wanted to keep that separated, offspring style. And so, so there's going to be, we did an article kind of qualifying why we did what we did, who moved up, who not. Colin, Jerry, myself, and Joe and Chris all took part of it, and so we had some really good feedback. So thank you, everybody. People were wondering why Chris Rodriguez wasn't ranked higher. Well, we had to, as Chris pointed out, that his numbers are very similar to a Tiger who just got released, Jose De La Cruz.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to make that direct comparison, right? Yeah. But it's like, and we've watched him play now a little bit, whereas we didn't really see that with De La Cruz and Beck when he was playing. But you can't put any stock really into the DSL numbers. it's fun to see him hit balls 112 miles an hour as a 17-year-old.
Right.
But we need to see a lot more. And honestly, I mean, he's only lower because I had him like 21st. Everybody else had him in, I think, their top 13. So that's my fault. So if he blows up and he's great, that's on me.
Yeah. Well, well, the hope is that he will blow up, and yeah, it's just a matter of the level of competition he faces, and so that's a big thing of it. It's just that's ultimately what it is that as he gets faced more curveballs, more better pitching, then we'll see how that shapes up to be. So
Yeah, if you can hit the ball that hard at that level, you can do a lot, but it doesn't necessarily say how much at all about how it'll translate when we're not getting to watch a whole ton of it and see good views of it. So yeah, we'll just have to see there. I thought the list was really good though. I saw a lot of things I agreed with and liked, and of course, that's kind of what I'm looking for. but no, I mean, it was just such a tough, it's a tough list because so many guys are injured. I mean, yeah, knowing what to do with like Owen Hall and some of those guys is tricky. And I thought you guys handled it well. It's nice to see Rucker hitting a little more lately and to see Brett Callahan back. Those are two guys who are, among the more toolsy sort of back end of the list position players. So yeah, good to see both of them get in there. I was surprised you guys didn't work Seth in there somewhere at the end, just as a speed guy, but you never know.
yeah.
I'm curious. Let me see.
I think it's number 44, I think, or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But to Colin's point, he said, I would argue Chris Rodriguez's ranking is generous. He has to be the highest ranking DSL prospect ever. You would be correct.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is this: I know that MLB Pipeline had him ranked high. I know that I don't think Baseball America had him. Did Baseball America have him ranked?
Chris Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I think he's fairly high on their list.
Yeah. It's to me, it's just a matter of seeing more of it. Like, okay, you can sit there and say, well, what about the college guys? Nick Dumasill comes to mind too. Like, we had him ranked number 32, and he's higher on other lists. And I was talking to Jason Beck about this Saturday, and they were just as high on him as Baseball America was. And when JJ Cooper explained his logic, it's like, okay, I understand that, but those DSL kids are just almost like it's a little bit above high school level, just barely in certain cases. And so I know with Johan Cobra, for example, Cobra might be higher ranked on our list, and people are like, who the hell is that guy? But we've seen enough of it where it's like, oh, that worked. That's interesting. And so.
Yeah. So Rodriguez is 16th on Baseball America. So top 10 in Pipeline, 16th on Baseball America, somewhere. I think that's higher or below us, right? So. Yeah. It like you said, and Koba is just like. That's just us watching him and going, hey, I like the way that looks. I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if he's healthy anymore. He hasn't pitched in like 10 days. So that would be a bummer. And it would be fitting given every other young arm that they have in the system and some of the older arms and all the other arms.
Yep.
From Reese Olson to Alex Cobb to Ethan Scheffelbein. They're all hurt. But no, it's always fun coming up with the list, and at a certain point you just kind of go, all right, that's it, whatever.
All right.
Because you can re-rank things. If we re-ranked them today, they'd be different than they were yesterday. Yes. So Stevenson was 46th. He got four votes, which qualified him for the list. Somebody did not vote for him. No, it was me.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, where do I have him ranked?
You have on my list here. You have him as 38th. I don't know if that is accurate or not. There's a 46, a 42, and a 55. So nobody had him in their top 30, and that was one of the things we were like, do we really want to rank guys that none of us think are in the top 30 in the system?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brandon.
Oh no, that was it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. I mean, he's definitely fringe as they come. But there's a few guys like that, kind of lingering around, and another, 5 to 10 guys that you could, if you went to 55, you would see them, and they actually do have like at least some kind of a chance, but are just way too far away. So, but yeah, it's just kind of been a bad year for the system in that way. Like the top guys have been good, other than Rayner getting hurt, but like the whole middle has just been shallowed out by injury, by trading away a few guys that would have fit in there. I liked Mike Ashman. I liked RJ Sales pretty well. I wasn't a big Randall guy, but he definitely has a shot. So, Yeah, I mean that's just that's the nature of doing business now. When you're theoretically trying to win something, I'm not 100% sure how hard they're trying as far as the front office, but yeah,
No,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes it hard, especially when you look at the Montilla also out for the year. So
yeah,
they have it's just it was as Chris and I were talking about this. I think after 10, I think maybe it was after 15 or so. I was just like,
yeah,
Yeah.
all right,
yeah,
starts it
Well,
up
yeah,
there.
I kind of mean like you can slot them all into groups, and Stevenson is one that probably fits in the same group as Carlos Mendoza and Trey Cruz, right? Where like these guys that like if something they have some ability, and if something strange things happen and injuries occur, they could come up to the big leagues and possibly contribute and hold their own for a little bit. But where do you rank guys like that when they're in their mid 20s, and it just becomes tough? And then you've got the young hitters who have interesting tools and A ball like Callahan and Strong and Warwick and some of these DSL hitters. It's like, okay, well, how do you hedge that? Where like they look like they've got some tools, but there's still a lot of holes in that swing, and there's some defensive question marks, and then the giant grouping of injured high school pitchers who all have talent, but we've barely seen any of them throw.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, it's definitely kind of a tough time right now out there.
yeah. Especially, I mean, Witherspoon. I think, for example, having him ranked, I think 13th on our list was pretty. It was just saying something about how bad the injuries have been to the system, because I think he would have came in maybe in the 20s, perhaps, if everybody had a better sample size of what was going on. But it's definitely not the case. I mean, even a guy like Preston Howard, for example, who's been putting up good numbers, we didn't have him in our top 30 at all.
Yeah, and he's getting more interesting now because they're stretching him out, and you kind of don't know exactly what they think maybe about his potential, but has been interesting to see him kind of start to pitch 3-4 innings and be effective. I don't know how far they'll take that. It was interesting to hear that Ellis Alt does throw a kick change. I was just
Yeah.
guessing, so yeah, that's good to know. I mean, if people out there like, I wrote an article about the kick change with Dietrich Enns, and Dietrich Enns didn't work out, but getting that kick change was still something that took him from being a guy who was, hanging on the fringes of the game to actually getting a chance and pitching in the major leagues. And, he just wasn't able to take it far enough. But,
I think
it's a pitch that can really solve an issue for a lot of guys who can't find a changeup for sure.
And yeah, I mean, I think he's done pretty well early on with the Orioles so far.
Everybody leaving is doing well. Joey
Yeah.
Wentz.
That's
Yeah.
true. Although, I mean, they gave Joey Wentz 1,000 chances.
I
And
know,
so
I
did a
know.
couple other teams. It's just one of those things. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a couple times where it just always makes me feel bad for Jeremy Bonderman that he grew up in an era where
Yeah.
you couldn't just invent a new way to throw a changeup.
Yeah.
Because Skubal has the seam shifted changeup, which we've seen a couple other guys in baseball use to great success. But this kick changeup, and we may see. I think the White Sox were one of the earlier adopters of that, and I think Burke has one. I think is it Smith?
Yeah, Shane Smith.
But I think that multiple guys have a kick change, and it's just for guys who can't throw a traditional changeup, but it gives them that separation and kills spin, and that's all you need. So it is interesting because I don't think there are a ton of other Tigers players who throw it, at least not yet, but maybe there are and we just don't know it.
Jake wants to know, did the high school injury factor play in the Ryan Hall and River Hamilton being left off the list? Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen River Hamilton throw outside of what video we have, and even then, with same thing with Hall, I don't feel comfortable with it. I really don't. Like, honestly, like I just
Yeah, it's hard to know what to say about him, really.
yeah.
So here's the thing, like
There's just a bucket of arms that are like talented enough to maybe turn into something, and they have like 20 of them. But but predicting them is impossible right now. Yeah.
in the way we did our rankings this year, and maybe we just need to be stricter about this in the future. There were 5 of us, and we all went to like 55. And so what happens is
Now on it's 40.
we ended up with like 70 players who got at least 3 votes, including Ryan Hall got 3, Preston Howley got 3, River Hamilton got 3, and these I voted Hamilton 29th. I had Hall 32nd. Caleb Lays I had he got 3 votes. He didn't make it. Like there's just a lot of guys who got 3 votes, but we decided to cut it off at 4, and then after that we had 49 names, and after that we were like, just let's cut it at 40. So all these guys got consideration, and they'll all get scouting reports, and they're all interesting, but like we were saying earlier, sometimes you just gotta make the list and put it out.
Yeah. I mean, you just grind on it until you just can't anymore. And at that point, I just start writing the scouting profiles and just focusing on that because I just figure like if your reports are good, I mean everybody can argue about where they're ranked exactly as long as your buckets are pretty solid and you write good reports and have enough detail.
Yeah,
That's all you can really do for people as someone who covers it from outside and isn't a pro scout, isn't working for a team or anything.
yeah, exactly. I have to mention too is you can't really did like amount of details. And look, I know my list wasn't that deep, but I mean for me it was just like, all right, well I haven't seen this guy and I don't feel comfortable giving a grade, especially some of these reports I did. For example, I did a report on Ben Jacobs, but I saw enough there where I'm like, okay, I can write something with that. I can't write something on River Hamilton. It's no offense or anything. I just can't do it. And I know the system to me is, I don't want to say it could be deeper, and right now it's not. Quite frankly, it's just in terms of outfielders and pitchers right now that could be on above Double A. I don't see it right now, and so
yeah, I mean if you're grading like everything beyond 20, it's like extreme high risk with pretty good talent. Like this thing could look so radically better next year, but I have no idea if it would. If a bunch of these guys are healthy and rehab and another off season working out, you might have a whole bunch of beasts coming out of nowhere. But until that happens, you can't just like hope for it. So.
Yeah, it is funny. Like there's a world in which this time next year the Tigers have very little hitting talent left in the system. It's basically Rayner and hopefully Yost and Oliveto have done something, but they have 8 super interesting young pitchers all of a sudden because they all got healthy and they look good. That seems unlikely because young pitchers just explode in billions of different directions. But I mean they have a lot of talent in the system. It's just the huge question marks with so many of them that it becomes hard to come up with any kind of proper ranking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of like rankings, though, at one point Luke Gold was on our list. Now he's gone. Oh, what happened? What happened? Did Tigers do something?
Torque bomb.
Oh, you're ahead
of me, dude.
You're ahead of me too.
Yeah. All right.
That's good because I just saw Wenzel ground out or line out, and I was like, bloody hell.
There we go.
All right. That's good.
Sweet. All right.
Thanks for the spoiler.
Don't confuse my triumphant fist pumping with rooting for the team. That was just.
No, I was gonna say, I'm like, were you stoked that Luke Gold's gone? That's what I said. Oh, yeah. It was right when I said, like,
out of here, Luke Gold. No, once upon a time, I had Luke Gold. We had Luke Gold ranked, and I thought he had a chance, and then just no.
I think what we should say about Torkelson is that, I mean, okay, he hasn't turned into the player people like dreamed of, but all he needed to do was like stay in the league, like not have these like devastating slumps where you couldn't see it anymore. And the fact that he's just been able to hang in there, keep hitting for some power even when he's not going good is a really good sign for him going forward. I mean, and it just kind of shows you how much patience sometimes it takes even for a guy who is an elite college hitter. Andrew Vaughn, went to the Brewers and is suddenly like hitting the bloody heck out of the ball after, years of being just atrocious with the White Sox. So, yeah, sometimes you just got to find the right cue, I guess, and have enough time to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, I don't think, I think it was fairly quick that we decided that Torkelson wasn't going to be this kind of, MVP level player.
Yeah.
But every team can use a guy who's bombing 25, 30 home runs a year. Yeah. And if he's batting 5th or 3rd or whatever, wherever, you see it right now. Like if they win this game, it's 2-1. It's because Torkelson hit a solo home run. So, don't want to count your chickens before they hatch, but that's valuable. He's a 2-WAR player right now.
He's 25. Yeah. He might hit for a little more average. He might walk a little bit more as he goes along. You can hope for a little more, but this is pretty good.
Yeah, he's hitting over 270 in the last 3 or 4 weeks. So he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's getting on base and he's doing exactly what, and also the amount of defense consistently is scooping some of the scoops he's had. Some days he looks really good, some days he looks really bad, but I also think it's just depending. But no, Torkelson's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing right now, which is come up with clutch situations and give that kind of outlook. And so, especially in a game like this where Winfield Perez comes back in the lineup after being banged up a little bit with a foot injury, I think it was Friday. And so McKinstry again struck out earlier on 3 straight sweepers, and there's just a matter of the at bats are inconsistent again. And so, but what I found funny was Baez after Pat Caputo's comment. Just the Tigers have won 2 out of 3 since he said something stupid about how ripping on Baez in the contract thing situation. I find that
Okay.
funny.
Well, the other thing about what Spencer Torkelson's done too is that the Tigers have sucked against left-handed pitching for almost 2 months, and that's really been like the gaping hole in their whole lineup. Is Jones and Ibanez have chipped in a little bit, but nobody else has really done that much, and Torkelson's kind of held that in there. So while you're watching, it's just been interesting too to watch Riley really struggle and Torkelson being the guy kind of holding things together a little bit more. So hopefully that's a confidence builder for him.
Charles, thank you for the $10. His comment: best guess for 2026 Mudhens infield: Holton, Anderson, McGonigal, or Anderson at second, McGonigal at short, Lee at third. You know what? I could see that. I mean, maybe Anderson at third and then put Lee at second.
They'll probably both play both to keep them, working on it. I could see them picking up another, kind of project first baseman, because they just don't seem to love Jake Holton, or have like huge hopes for him necessarily. So, it could be another Bly Madris type guy sharing duty with him there, or Malloy,
or Myers, or Chris Myers.
Yeah, Chris Myers. But obviously you'd think Malloy's the still their priority. That was Scott Harris's first big move, sort of, was to trade Jimenez for him, and obviously like fit the profile that Scott Harris wants as a sort of model for the Tigers. And so that's probably a bit of a pet prospect in his mind, and he's going to remain a priority, even though despite all this trouble with left-handed hitting, they didn't call him up, and I was kind of expecting him to at least get a look for a couple weeks somewhere in the last month, and they haven't really bothered. So not sure what they think at this point.
By the way, that's a good tweet there, Chris, that Jerry just tweeted out. That was the first home run that Torque ever hit to give the lead in the ninth.
Oh, yeah.
Developing that clutch gene.
Yeah.
My one issue with Charles's projection is that McGonigal will be in Detroit next year.
Yeah, but to start the year in the infield, I could see it, for sure. Unless he's got to sign the Keith deal, Chris.
He is. They're going to sign McGonigal to an extension. He's going to be your starting second baseman or shortstop on opening day next year because he's good.
That doesn't really surprise me. I wouldn't hate to see him in Toledo just for like 2 weeks at the end of the year. But of course they want, always got to play in the postseason. But whatever, they can do their thing.
I don't know. It's who knows. I mean, we talk about Jace Young. Maybe Jace Young starts playing some first base. If he hangs around. They really, this is part of the reason why it was like, why didn't you trade any of these guys who are kind of okay, like, and maybe nobody wanted them, but it sure feels like, like it's good. I'm glad that Max Anderson is up in AAA now, and it'd be good to see him get that challenge. I'm still a little bit skeptical about his profile, so if he can succeed in AAA, I'll feel a lot better about his bat. Mm-hmm. But they've got a logjam there of kind of, iffy second baseman, third baseman. So.
Yeah, and I mean, for whatever we think about Jace Young's value right now, like he's worth more than RJ Sales. They could have used him in a deal if they just wanted to use him and keep their younger guys that they thought they could still develop. It is kind of a dicey proposition to think you're going to get a lot for Jace Young, or even like much more than like Rafael Montero. That's kind of about where he's at this point after you've kind of had a year of looks or close to it and haven't really started to do anything. But obviously he's worth more than that, but not a lot to most teams. And I am surprised that they weren't able to do something with him. But yeah, I mean, I want to trade him, so I can't really blame other GMs for being like, we're not really that high on him either. You'll probably just give him away and put him on waivers next year or something.
Yeah, and that's where I think that's why I don't think they could get rid of him, because some of these teams are just like, we know what you're going to be doing, please. We know what you're exactly going to be doing with these guys, and so speaking of,
oh wow, sorry, absolute downpour suddenly in Chicago.
That's well timed then. As the Tigers have 2 runners on the top of the ninth here, leading 2-1. But the interesting thing about this weekend, the interesting thing, well, besides this weekend, overall, like series against Louisville, 3 things I took away. One, we looked up the relievers right now. Drew Summers has one of the highest strikeout rates among relievers, so that's why they're so high up on him. 2, Montero does not belong in AAA. I just think that he should be in Detroit at some point again soon. It sucks that he's there right now. And 3, Edward Valencia hit for the cycle. Where okay,
Yeah.
in the last 3 years, guys, we've done a lot of things. There's a lot of things that cannot be understood. Like just there's phenomenons in the world.
Yeah.
There's things that like man-made or science fiction or whatever the case is. That things cannot be explained. Edward Valencia. If you'd have told me that Edward Valencia would have hit for the cycle and been hit over almost 15 home runs,
Yeah.
I would have told you were on crack because he is putting up. He hit over 500 down in Toledo this week.
Mm-hmm.
He was just a man on fire. We thought he might be out for the year because of the injury he had.
Yeah.
And Valencia, Brandon, Chris, do you guys have any explanation for Edward Valencia? 'Cause I don't. I literally he surpassed Alfonso in catching.
Yeah.
The only explanation is that sometimes catchers just take forever.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that's been, like we talked about before, he's basically been a backup his entire career. He's never really been giving regular playing time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's maybe it's just one of those things where the more you catch, the more you see pitching, the more that helps you as a hitter. I don't know. At the same time, like I throw him in that bucket with that I mentioned before of like Cruz and Mendoza and these guys who, if something goes wrong, you know, bring Valencia up. Let him catch a couple games. Like I don't know how they view him within the organization, like in terms of the things they really care about with catching.
Right.
You know, calling a game, framing, working with pitchers, all that stuff. But there's nothing wrong with having a third string catcher in AAA who can, hit 3 extra base hits in a game, and including a triple, which is hilarious. It's the second triple of his career, and it leads to a cycle.
Yeah, right after the leg injury, and ran out the triple. Yeah, the whole thing was odd. I mean, since he's gotten to Toledo, it seems like he's been a little more patient, maybe, and maybe that's just knowing that he's got the strike zone, the ABS on his side, and all that. But he is walking more. Maybe he's starting to feel himself a little bit as far as like I can do some damage and I can be a little more selective, and these guys aren't just gonna just pump fastballs down the middle at me. So I don't know. I don't really know what to make of it necessarily, and I want more data. But I mean, he's like one of those guys who just is like late blooming, rounding into like a solid 4A guy, maybe. I mean, if we just put it that way, like he's probably a cup of coffee guy. But getting that far when you were never a priority. I mean, we know Ryan Garco has done a much better job since taking over of trying to make everybody a priority as much as they can, and not have that big swath of guys that just doesn't really get that much attention. So it might just be some of that coming to fruition as well.
It has a 151 WRC plus in AA and a 151 WRC plus in AAA now. It's only 17 games, but 25. That's not that old for a catcher. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things where like, okay, the stats look good. He doesn't swing and miss a ton. He's who knows, man? There might be something there, or there might not at all. I don't know. Again, it's one of those, like, sometimes guys just produce like crazy in the minor leagues, and there's like, I don't know. How many years ago was it that Andrew Navigado was like, it was just last year, wasn't it? Like, knocking down, we're like, oh, he's 2020, he's hitting for power, and then this year he's hitting like 160.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of what you expect, but you just don't know. Dylan Dingler struggled at AA, and he was basically like almost 25 this time last year when it was like, okay, he's finally, he finally handled AA. He moved up to AAA and had a lot of success, shored up some of his weaknesses against breaking balls. And then, all of a sudden there he is. Whereas for a couple seasons, it was kind of looking like, okay, kind of a Jake Rogers type situation where he's going to be a really good defender behind the plate, but he's probably, going to hit you 15 home runs and bat 200, and, things look a lot better than that now. Not as good as they did early in the year when everybody was red hot, but definitely better.
Yeah, there's something interesting. Tim Dalton was let go from the was on the injury list, but he was let go by the Tigers, and so you're going to see more of it in the next couple of weeks. You're going to see tomorrow. I think there's going to be a bloodbath in Toledo because with the guys with Max Anderson being called up, you saw Stevenson and Peck called up to Erie. The question is now there has to be somebody. So yeah, there has to be some sort of movement with that because they have all these infielders. What the hell are they going to do with them? I mean, you're putting Workman and Kreidler out in the outfield because you don't have any outfielders. The Tigers don't have any true legitimate outfielders outside of not even Malloy technically because he was an infielder when he was playing. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like you wonder if Malgeri will ever get a move up to AAA, or I don't know. If, has Cruz been playing mostly outfield? I haven't
he's
really.
been playing left. He's been playing a lot of
Okay.
left field. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I think that could just be one of those organizational philosophies we see where they, if you're athletic enough to play the middle infield, you can probably play outfield. We've seen that with Javi and Kreidler, right? So. That may just be one of those things that they think, and that's why they keep drafting these Woody Haydens and John Pecks.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Like, okay, this guy's versatile enough to, if he happens to hit, we can use him anywhere. If he doesn't hit that much, at least he's versatile. Yeah. It makes sense.
So this week, if you look at Erie, you look at Briseño's 2 home runs. Both his home runs were opposite field, majestic moonshots, just absolute, just crushing on the left field.
Mammoth,
literally the moon mammoth home runs. And he looked really good just doing so. Clark had a little bit of a slow week, but it's okay. Honestly, it doesn't really, but it was a breath of fresh air to see Campos come to life a little bit. And part-time duty, 4 for 10. That was the first time he's had like a good week since late May, early June.
Since April. He had a 145 WRC plus through April, and since then he's hit 196 with an ISO under 100. It's been rough. He hasn't adjusted at all to AA pitching, which is unfortunate. But he's still relatively young. But it wouldn't necessarily shock me if they start him back in West Michigan next year. But I don't know. Again, they're kind of lacking for outfielders, so give him another chance at AA at least to start the year. We'll see.
That's true. He did just turn 22, so it's not a dire situation yet. But yeah, kind of need to see a nice big step finally next year.
As far as catching wise, too, Charles, I think Briseño caught majority of the games this week between.
I think he caught 4 in a row.
Yeah. Lozano, I'm not sure why he's not catching as much. I don't know. That's there's some theories behind it, but there's just nothing we can really say publicly about it. It's just it is what it is. Let's just say that. But Briseño seems like to be taking that over. Alfonso's catching whenever, I believe it's when Kenny Suara pitches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, right now the Seawolves are basically getting bullpen starts, and at some point too, Burhan and Sears got lit up. Burhan's just Jekyll and Hyde. Honestly, it's maddening.
They got bombed by Richmond. Richmond's usually awful.
Yeah.
And they were just hitting everything that threw up there. And the Burhan one was confusing because he doesn't normally get knocked around like that. Like occasionally he'll have some bouts of wildness and give up a couple home runs, but it was like, 11 hits there, 10 hits? Sears wasn't necessarily shocking, right? It's a guy who's making his first start, moving up a level. Yeah. You kind of want to see them struggle a little bit and see how they handle it. And he kept throwing strikes. He's still a psycho on the mound. But you see a glimpse, you go, okay, well that sweeper looked a little lazy, and the fastball wasn't missing bats at all. So he's gonna really have to work on that off-speed pitch, and just see if he can tighten up the breaking ball a little bit. But it's good to, when he's relatively young for a college pitcher, it's good for somebody to move up a level and see the next challenge they need to meet.
Yeah, and he's got a tricky angle, which helps him. It gives him a little bit of margin for error as he kind of tries to tune his stuff up. Sometimes guys who are twitchy and move fast like that are really hard on opposing hitters, but it can also be really hard to pitch like that and really command everything and get the right movement on it consistently too. So it may just take him a bit. And he's probably a relief prospect. For the most part, so they can narrow it down. They can keep working on the changeup. He's got time, so it'll just be interesting to kind of see how they work with him and try to develop him. But hopefully by this time next year, he's looking like a more major league ready type guy, because he could move quickly too. He does throw enough strikes. So
yeah, FanDuel pressure. Yeah, FanDuel was.
They knew it was televised.
Yeah, they knew it was televised. Speaking of that, by the way, we'll be out there Wednesday and Thursday next week for FanDuel. So Chris will be in Pittsburgh. I will be in Erie. Somehow, I'm gonna head up to Pittsburgh, Chris. I'm gonna head up there for at least a couple hours to check out Pittsburgh once and for all. I've been wanting to do it.
Yeah, it just unfortunately the way it's been working for me, maybe I'll be able to get out, but we've been doing training sessions from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., then 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., and then 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So I have like a 4-hour break in there, but I can't. It takes 2 hours to get to Erie from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So maybe if one of those things ends really early, I can come up for a few innings and then head back. But I don't know.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, Jake, yeah, good point. Trammell, by the way, you can see Trammell on the bench during the Erie's game where he was just sitting there like, and then the next day he was back in Detroit. Like Trammell's a madman, man. Like
they got to be used to playing in front of Tram by now. He's
been there all the time.
He goes to the minor league stadiums, like 30 times a year, if not more. He's there working with guys, taking ground balls at 11 a.m.
Yeah. He's always there with a cup of coffee. Like, he's literally have a cup of coffee the entire time. Like, sometimes I'll see him in the dugout, and you just see his steam rising up from the coffee. He's just sitting there, like, he's just like, he's watching along. He's just like, it's like, dude, that's why you're the effing man. It's just like
locked in.
Locked in. Even with that, like, contraption he came up with, the towel that he told us how he came up with. Colin wants to know if he worked for TSA.
No, I actually, I work for a company that designs, this is super boring. I work for a company that designs and builds airport baggage handling systems. And what happens is in Pittsburgh has a brand new terminal it's really nice. It's supposed to be ready by October, mid-October, we'll see. But my company installed all these new, 3 floors of different conveyors and all this different stuff. And the workers need to know how to use it and repair it. So engineers come in there and teach them, and I kind of support. I bring the written materials, I pass them out, I keep track of who's there, and then I record everything with video. So yeah, it's I don't know. It's stuff that I've had this job for 6 months now. I never once gave a thought to baggage handling systems before this job.
Yeah.
And now it's like I try to sleep without thinking about them, and it's hard.
So is it like
just like a conveyor belt of baseball?
Yeah, I was gonna say stats, like the stats going through his brain, like no.
Like those old like ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
The old cartoons where it's I don't know. It can be interesting at times. It's not baseball.
Well, speaking of baseball, though, West Michigan just rolling along. There are just 74 wins, as Emily mentioned earlier, and Rainer Castillo, not bad, pitching a little better, but we mentioned earlier Lucas Elson's debut, very good, strong review, a good debut rather, not review, good debut. Moises Rodriguez has been pitching pretty well since he came up. Again, Chris, what about Frigo here? Like, is he just coming up and just shoving too and not just going quietly going about things, or what's going on with him?
Yeah, I mean, I really have not paid much attention to him. It's one of those things where when you're a minor league free agent in the middle of the year, and he's 25.
Yeah.
Like maybe I should pay more attention to him. It's kind of like it's a wait and see thing. Maybe if he gets up to Erie, then I'll pay more attention.
I did see a little of him, and it just looks like to me like he can spot a breaking ball, and they aren't used to it.
Okay,
that's kind of all right now. If there's a velo bump or a stuff bump, that maybe we'll get more enthused. But he has been pretty effective. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think they've seen a guy throwing them breaking balls for strikes and kind of dotting around the edges and stuff.
There is. I feel like at every minor league stop there is that guy who either has a plus changeup for the level or a plus breaking ball that he can just land whenever he wants to, and they're like, when all things fall apart, they bring in that guy and he gets you some outs.
Yeah.
And yeah, it wouldn't shock me if he's that guy. There's a dude in the DSL, I don't know his name, but he's absolutely, that's all he is. He throws like 88, 90, but he can drop a curveball in whenever he wants, and these 17-year-olds just can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a matter of like if he's dominating a level at 25, then yeah.
Nice to see Moises get off to a good start, though. Moises Rodriguez was very interesting. People will pay more attention to him because he throws hard. But of course, we paid a lot of attention to Josber for a while too. But of course, Josber kind of light on the extension, and everything kind of plays down. So he's really got to kind of max out to get back to maybe what he looks like to people on paper. But yeah, but Moises has got a little more of the legit juice.
I gotta look back. It feels like he probably has pretty good extension, but I don't know. There's like some Jason Foley to him, right? Like it's a very hard kind of sinker and some slider, but it's consistent hard velocity that it's hard enough that even if it doesn't move a ton, he could still get some outs. So let me look.
Yeah, and I know this isn't like the Tigers' like priority the way it is with some teams, but you do see like the White Sox, and every year they seem to churn out 3 or 4 guys who throw 97 to 99, and don't really know where it's going. Maybe one of them actually works out, but they're always developing velocity that way. And the Tigers have gotten better at that. We've seen more of it, but it's still not like this wave of super hard throwers coming along at any point.
Yeah, it almost feels like they don't care about velocity at all.
It does.
Which
is yeah.
Not ideal. So Rodriguez actually only has 6 feet of extension himself, so I was wrong there.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see. Vertical release point 5.2. But yeah, fastball velocity averages 97.5.
But I think Yosber's like 5'8" though, like extension. No. Yeah, it's not much. So.
I do think like extension does play into it a lot, but then you see guys who don't necessarily have a ton of extension who still succeed. Like I think Skubals is below average. I think Olson's is kind of well below average, but
Verlander was always a little bit below average or just average. Yeah.
Because and he had a very unique. He has one of like the highest release point. Sometimes you just want the unique traits rather than anything that's, I don't know if you necessarily want no extension, like if you're throwing behind your back or whatever, but, I don't know. He throws hard. We'll keep an eye on him.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, folks. There's some sort of Nazi debate on our Discord. Apparently there's some sort of...
Oh, good.
Yeah. Chris, there's a Nazi among our Discord people.
Is it the Rommel attacks guy?
Yeah.
Oh God. Yep. There you go.
So, okay. Well. All right.
Is he? Who's that guy?
Well, that's the thing. Like that. I know we don't have to bring this to the public, but yeah, there's a dude in there whose name is Rommel Attacks or whatever, and he claims it's because he loves to do war games, and I think he lives in Asia or whatever, and that seems very suspicious, but at the same time, he's never done like anything remotely Nazi-ish. He's never said anything that's like, like.
Some people are just history fanatics,
I mean, it's an interesting history name to pick. You could pick many others. Why not Sherman as he burns the South? But yeah, I don't know. Like, if you want to kick him, I'm fine with it. I don't know if he necessarily brings anything to the Discord. Maybe he has started spewing some white supremacist nonsense.
Yeah, sorry, I got distracted with that crap. Sorry about that. Yeah. Anyway,
we've had a fun new conspiracy theory brewing on the site as people have gotten madder and madder that Chris Ilitch is actually pulling all the strings and Scott Harris is just his little puppet. And I just love that theory, honestly. I have to shoot it down, of course, because it's so nonsensical. But it is funny to think about Chris Ilitch like crunching the numbers and scouring the waiver wire, like playing OOTP. Like, look, rich people don't work that hard.
No.
Now Harris is just like, I can't spend any money. I've got to look through every single inexpensive reliever on the planet tonight.
Yeah. That's Chris Ilitch. Rafael Montero is the play.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris.
Shout out to Chris for getting McGonigal and building up the top of that farm system. Killer work, bro.
Not bad for a baseball owner.
Yep. Doing better than the Rockies guy.
Yeah.
That's what I keep saying. I think the only guy who meddles a lot is the Rockies guy, and they're right in there. And look at that.
Well, I mean, his son's a farm director, for Christ's sake. You talk about nepotism, and
they just put all his family members in running the team. Yeah.
But,
I think the concern for most people around the Tigers is more whether or not Chris is actually interested at all in anything other than the park being filled. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I'm not here to carry water for Chris Ilitch, right? I don't want to say that, but like the Tigers over the last couple of years have spent a few times, like they will spend or offer to spend fairly decent money on free agents, right? Like every year it's 40-50 million, and they're offering Bregman a lot of money.
Yeah, they're not the Rays. Yeah, I mean,
but they're all.
We could have had $170 million payroll if they had just upped their offer slightly, to get Bregman this year.
Yeah, and so like I don't mean to like say obviously people want him to spend more. I don't think he's necessarily like you said like the Rays or Cleveland or something like that just completely unwilling to spend money. I almost feel like he's the kind of owner you want, where he mostly stays out of the mix.
That's what I think. Yeah.
I think the people's complaints are you have a president slash GM who, as you said, wants to get the dollar per WAR championship. And maybe there's nothing wrong with that if you succeed, but you gotta succeed, and you gotta learn from your mistakes when you don't succeed. And Scott Harris is still new enough in this job that we don't really know if he's capable of doing any of that. Again, I'm not saying Chris Ilitch is the best owner in the world. I'm just saying, generally speaking, you want an owner who will spend money and then stay out of the way.
Yeah.
What Tigers fans got used to is his father caring so much that he didn't care about money and wanting stars.
Right.
And I think that's the fans' way of thinking, and so we relate to that. And it would be fun to go out and get whatever superstar you want, but it's not necessarily the best way to run a baseball team.
Yeah, I mean, I just always go back to the Upton thing, because that's one of the ones where we know he like really leaned into it, himself,
Yeah.
and wanted Justin Upton. And it's like, if you had just given Dave Dombrowski that money to spread, or Al Avila that money to spread around to 4 or 5 average players, that team would have been infinitely better. So yeah, you don't want them to meddle. You want them to be interested enough to want to win and to spend, but you don't really want them involved, because it's just not their business. Like, and someone like Mike Ilitch, it was a passion project for him at that point, and he really wanted to win one. But he wasn't meddling. He was doing whatever they needed him to do with the Wings in the '90s. Smuggling people out of Russia and doing whatever he had to do.
Yeah.
But he wasn't necessarily like the guy doing the scouting. Like he didn't think of himself that way. He understood. I built one of the most successful pizza companies on the planet. I don't think you could do that. But I don't necessarily, I can't necessarily go in there and do Scotty Bowman or or the GM's job or any of that stuff. So yeah, some kind of balance there. Anyway.
Even fellows, get Logan on if you soon ask him what the storm of the Capitol was.
Oh, geez.
I'm sorry, what now?
Logan?
I don't know who that is, but.
Oh, boy.
Which Logan are we thinking about here?
I don't know.
Not Wolverine, I assume. Anyway.
Oh yeah, not yeah. All right, let's finish up the podcast. I think we're getting a little. We're getting way.
Yeah, we're loopy. I got rain delay on the left. I got my staff trying to figure out what they're going to do with the recap, and
and I got some guy about there's so much going on here.
I mean, this looks like a line of storms that's just going right through the south side of Chicago for like the next 2 hours.
Oh, good. Just rain it out.
Yeah.
Oh, the new guy in FanDuel reporter. I'm
out of the loop. I don't know.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah, it's a new guy that looks like he looks like a Baltimore Oriole. Just
all right.
Yeah, that's
okay.
That's what it is. Okay. All right. Anyway, yeah, we're out of touch with that. So Lakeland, yeah. So let's Lakeland doing their thing, and Lakeland is continuing to cruise on. The CrossFit Johnny Kane, apparently that's what they call him.
I dig it.
But yeah, Lockhart Jr. is on rehab right now. Wilmer Flores is back. That was weird to see, guys. I'm not gonna lie, it was weird seeing Wilmer Flores because I didn't think he would see him this year.
Yeah, same.
So,
and he's got a long way to go because he was throwing 91, 92.
Yeah.
But.
It's such a bummer, man. You look at him, he still looks like his arms go down to his ankles, and you're like, yeah, man, you get this in sync, and you're gonna throw hard, and it's not there.
Yeah.
Sometimes guys just don't get the velocity back. You hope it's not the case with him, but remember when he was a reliever, he was throwing 97, 99, and now he's working one inning stints and having trouble locating 90, 91.
And even as a starter, he was pretty consistently 94, 95, and reaching back for 97, 8 when he wanted it. So, yeah, I mean, it might just take some time. Like an AC joint injury is, it might be a slow buildup because he really was out a long time and might have lost a little of the whip. So, but yeah, I mean, that dream may just be over. We'll see. Give him another year.
The Tigers draft picks from this year trickling in here. Like was that Nick Dumasil?
Dumasil had 2 hits. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, Goodman, first pitch he saw, smoked it for a double. Warwick is kind of settling in well at Lakeland right now. Santana's still around, surprisingly.
Sure.
Yeah.
We got.
Is he 22 now? I don't even know.
Maybe he might still be 21.
Yeah, he might.
We got Jank Diaz's first low A start, which was fun. You know, he's not throwing as hard as we've seen from the past, and I wonder if that is to get him to throw more strikes. Generally, I don't know how well you can control that. It may just be that it's later in the season for him. He hasn't thrown a ton of innings.
Yeah.
But you also saw like he's got the full arsenal now. He's
Yeah.
got a sinker,
Yeah.
four seamer. The changeup look good. He's got a slider and a curveball. It seems like, or at least he can manipulate his breaking ball. Like, and he's the one healthy high school pitcher basically. And I mean, there's stuff to like there. So that was encouraging to see. He did. The control kind of fell apart in his final inning, but he got a ton of swings and misses for. I want to say like 14, something like that. It was not bad.
Yeah, it was quite a bit. Yeah, 6 strikeouts in like the first 3 innings, and then just kind of melted down briefly in the 4th, and then got lifted, and
Find the details on that one.
Still a big jank guy. Yeah, I mean, and he's got the frame and the size, and has thrown hard in the past. So you just hope that we don't really know any. Maybe you guys do.
Oh,
But I didn't really hear that much specific about any injuries last year. I didn't hear anything about injuries with Jank last year, other than that it seemed like shoulder maybe. But
I think so. Yeah, but we've seen him pitch this year, and earlier in the season it was he was touching 95. It was like 92, 94. At least maybe you can't trust those FCL velo readings. I certainly am skeptical of the DSL IVB readings that they're saying guys are hitting like 25 inches of induced vertical break regularly.
Yeah.
But I think it's in there. You could go back to when he was in the draft league or whatever. People had radar footage of him hitting the upper 90s. So, I think there's I don't know. It's an encouraging sign, right? Like he's one of those younger guys who could blow up, along with Salcedo. Just that some of those guys could be really interesting prospects at this time next year.
Yeah. So and Rod, you wrote a great article about the international free agents, and like needing to really finally get that right and keep this pipeline going. And keeping the pipeline going should be a theme that people are talking about because, like the reticence to trade the top prospects. I think most people, whether they like it or not, they understand, the idea. But you have to believe in yourself that you're going to, continue to develop these guys and start getting a lot more out of the international pipeline. Like they're building a facility, they're putting all these investments, and they've invested quite a bit of money, in the last few years in general. So they need to get a lot out of that. They need to get a lot more than they have in the past.
Yeah, if you're only getting
Brasinho and Wenzel and Gregory Soto.
Or Montero, if you're only getting, and here's the thing too, there's something Chris and I were talking about this the other day on the podcast for Patreon. You're not even getting those relievers anymore. You're not getting the Mercedes. You're not getting the Rondons. You're not getting any of that. So you tell me between Wenzel Perez and Montero and essentially Brasinho right now, and then Soto, Soto as well. You maybe put Anthony Castro. Nah, not really. Never mind. But the point is, they haven't even had those in a while. And so when somebody was telling me we had a commenter who was like, "You're being too negative." They haven't had draft. They've had complete. It's like the draft class and the international side of things. When you don't have no production from either one of them, that's horrible. That's absolutely unacceptable.
Look at all the guys they spent $500K up to like $2 million on who have done nothing. The last 5 years.
That's a huge part of sustaining that pipeline, like you were saying. Like to get. Every now and then they have a very successful international class. It's like every 6 years, like they got 4 guys out of this class out of nowhere. But a lot of times it's absolutely nothing. We were talking that Jose de la Cruz is gone. So we thought he was the last one from that class, but actually Valencia was from the same class. But I mean you just need to get some more players, and it's possible because we see other teams do it all the time, right? And you're starting to feel like maybe that they've gotten it now. Some of these younger international players have come over and look at least mildly interesting, whether it's Jose Dixon or I was really a Jesus Pinto fan, but he got hurt pretty early. Angel de los Santos is doing crazy numbers down in the DSL. We don't know what that means. Chris Rodriguez. People are starting
Osorio looked okay.
So you feel like, I mean, Brasinho popping is huge because they haven't had anybody kind of like that in a long time. Montilla is fun. You should, So it's getting better, but the results still aren't there. You got to get them to the big leagues, right? It's whereas before they had trouble getting guys to Double-A.
Right. Hey, at least you got something for Enrique Jimenez, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. Like, you know,
Having those
look,
guys you can trade. Yeah.
yeah, having guys interesting enough to trade. How often did they do that? Like, it's what like I was saying the other day, where they're trading these 10th, 11th round picks for actual big leaguers. It's not something they've been doing in the past, but they can do that now. So you want to just get to that level on the international market too. And I did pull up Diaz's start. So 53 pitches, 22 swings, 11 whiffs. So 50% whiff rate. 3 on the sinker, 4 on the changeup, 2 on the curve, 2 on the slider. That's a that's a poo-poo platter of whiffs.
A nice buffet of whiffs.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. Like it is, Colin pointed out. Good point here by Colin. Winfield and Cater were not even the same. Were in the same class, and not even the big names in that class.
No.
So that's saying something right there.
More often than not, I think the big names don't work out right because the big names are getting these bonuses when they're 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do. Sometimes, like Gleyber Torres was a big name, but so was Eloy Jimenez, and he was a super highly ranked prospect. And then he got to the big leagues and just kind of went. Yeah. So you never know.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an argument there for the bulk approach as well. There, and I guess the one thing that we've probably all liked a little bit more the last 2 years is that they're hunting, undrafted free agents. They're hunting indie ball.
Yeah.
They're looking for guys who are better than what they have, even if they're not like legit, high end prospects. Like you'd rather have Garrett Pennington than some random first baseman that you signed when he was 16 and just isn't going to go anywhere, and you just hang on to him. It's like turn it over.
Well,
keep trying to find guys. Keep finding new guys to work with.
One of the interesting things is Raj was going through some old photos, and he found one from when we did, I think, our first live outing at West Michigan, which was 2018?
Yep.
Was it 2019? Yeah, it was 2018 because Skubal pitched for West Michigan later that year. He didn't pitch in that game, but we were looking at who was in that game, and the only big leaguer, current big leaguer, was Dane Myers, who was pitching.
Yeah.
Jeter Downs hit a home run off of him. Jeter Downs was briefly in the big leagues. But just looking at all these other names and these guys who were drafted in rounds like 8 through 20 by the Tigers and just never did anything. I don't know. It's kind of sometimes it's good to go back and remind yourself like, oh man, they've come a pretty long way, at least with this part.
Yeah. They've got more to do, but at least you have the top guys, and hopefully they can this. Whatever they've done the last 2 years, which we can't even really quantify yet, hopefully it starts to come to pass a little bit in the years ahead. But yeah, if anybody who watches AAA ball, like you'll see like a ton of names that you remember from the draft, or guys who are hot prospects who are all sitting there. You watch the Twins, you see Julian. There's just lots of guys that I liked when they were in A ball, and just kind of sputtered out so far. That's how it'll go.
Yeah, but the Tigers haven't even had, in terms of international player-wise, come up to Toledo in quite some time outside of Perez.
Yeah.
So Valencia, that's progress, I guess, but still, even that.
It's not much. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's still pretty bleak.
Yeah. So for everybody telling me I'm not being positive enough, it's like, what am I supposed to do? Ignore that? Am I supposed to sit there and lie about it? No, call a spade a spade. That's what it is.
That's all right. I picked the Tigers to win 85 games this year, and and that, by failing to sign Alex Bregman, they really had no chance to go deep in the postseason, and I'm still getting called a homer. So,
really?
You can't win. It's all right.
No, you're right. You can't. And me sticking up for Baez all the time apparently makes me a homer too, somehow, some way. But
anyway. Opinions are opinions. It's fine.
Yeah, opinion. Everybody has an opinion. No, but anywho, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. And I also wanted to give a special thanks to some of the extra donations we've been receiving, especially Mr. John Kloss's grandfather sent a really nice letter today. And thank you, Mr. Kloss.
Nice.
John, I don't like calling. It's weird. I don't. Even as I'm in my mid 40s now, and I don't like calling people by their first name.
Call him the Big Kloss man.
Yeah, Big Kloss man. Big Kloss. But he wrote a really nice letter to us, and again, as well as one of those cool things that we will always end every podcast. If there's a way to make a charity for John and find a way to help students who are in broadcasting or something along those lines, that was my goal one day. One day to do something
that would be cool.
To pass along what John was able to do for people. Because John, like I said, if he was here now, he would be doing something in broadcasting. I guarantee. He was that much a hustle. But Anyway, but thank you for everybody who's donated, and thank you so much for reaching out. Appreciate it, and we'll be back on Thursday for the Motor City Metrics podcast. Brandon, what do you got going on? How's the new website going along? Any hiccups with the WordPress transition?
Oh yeah, there have been plenty. It's been. I mean, it's been.
I'm not cheering you on by that. I can totally relate.
It's been an absolute like pull your hair out sort of a week, and it actually hasn't really gone that badly. It's just you just know it's going to be like this. You know, you discover all the things that need to be fixed by them failing on you at the worst possible times. So yeah, we're going through all that, but trying to figure some of it out. Yeah, we're kind of diving in on the offense here a little bit more. I've written a little bit about the bullpen. I'm probably going to write about the need for some pitching chaos. That's probably coming up. But I'm also going to go up north briefly the next 2 weekends. So I'm looking forward to that because like this is sort of the last chance before, we get into September and it's go time 100%. Hopefully somewhere into October, preferably.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, same here with next week. I'll be in Erie for 3 days because right now technically I don't have a day job. So it'll be nice to go down there and
you're all freed up.
Yeah, all freed up, which is weird. I've never been this freed up, and it's weird. Like waking up every day going, what am I going to do today? So I've been walking, I've been cleaning, thanks to my lovely wife, she helped me rearrange the office. So there's just been the kitchen's being remodeled, the tarp's coming off the field. So there you go. So perfect time to end the podcast.
All right.
Watch the Tigers hopefully win 2 in a row as they continue on with this AL Central road trip. Stay close, everybody. Have a good night, and we will talk to you on Thursday.
Night, guys.
And I can find the show intro. There it is.